presentation. Yeah. Okay, so let's do this slideshow and okay, let's do a quick Ganesh mantra. Om Gananam Tva Ganapatim Havamahe Kavin Kavinamupamashravastamam Jyeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashranvannu Tibisida Sadanam Om Ganeshaya Namah. Okay, so we are going to discuss another little bit of remembering Lord Shiva. Om Sadashiva Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Okay, guys. So Rahu-Ketu. Now we all know, I'm not going to repeat a lot of the stuff because at various points you all have heard it about the Samudra Manthan and all that. And we all know this is like a little, the Samudra Manthan or the churning of the ocean is like quite fundamental to all the, the whole, across the Puranas and across all Vedic texts. And this is from one of the bas reliefs this is like my favorite picture. It's, in Cambodia, and it's one of the great temples there. So the Rahu and Ketu, as we know, they were essentially a serpent, and different Puranas call them originally by different names. It's usually referred to, most Puranas call them like Swarbhanu, which is Asura, which is a demon. And essentially, they had to enlist all the asuras or the demigods in the whole Samudra Manthan process in order to extract the Amrita or the nectar of immortality. So Swarbhanu was ultimately, sensed something was wrong, something was fishy. And so he essentially got hold of the idea that actually there is more to it, that the Devas have enlisted all the asuras into this whole giant production of churning of the ocean milk flow for the nectar of immortality. And so he got a hint that in spite of all the distractions, like by various apsaras and all that, yet by the Devas, Swarbhanu was not distracted. So he managed to get hold of a little bit of the Amrita, or the nectar of immortality. And he did drink that, but ultimately the sun and the moon complained to Lord Vishnu, and the result of which was that Swarbhanu was cut into two. And essentially, we all know that we can't get away. A big bulk of our problems is Rahu and Ketu. And Ketu is still, like I said, is not so much of a problem, but when it comes to samsara, when it comes to normal sort of day-to-day living and material existence, that's when Ketu gets really into trouble, because people with very strong Ketu, they can't figure out what to do, how to harness the energy. They're quite ill at ease with that, unless you're like Scorpio or even to an extent Sagittarius Lagna people. Because remember, in Sagittarius, Ketu is in its exaltation, So, and again, Rahu is where we want more and more and more, and it never ends. And Rahu literally wants to put you in, wants you to consume so much so that you can literally die of consumption and be reborn. That's essentially coming down to the brass tacks. Okay, so, and that is also our reason for rebirth. So now And we all know how Ketu we've done many talks on lectures on how Ketu is associated with the Matsya avatar, which is a form of Lord Vishnu. And he was instrumental he's like the Ananta, the great Ananta, who was instrumental after every pralay, after a complete destruction, after the Mahayuga, everything goes, he takes all the Sapta Rishis and literally to preserve the body of knowledge, takes them away towards the pole star, which is Dhruv Tara. So Ketu has a huge significance in terms of when we talk about its Mool Trikona sign in Pisces, because it's got its work cut out, moksha, and so that is what it puts us on a path. But of course, from the Sansaric point of view, it's really difficult. So now Brihaspati has got huge significance. Lot of the mantras, lot of them, they begin in the Rig Veda with Brihaspati. Now there are, because Rig Veda is one of the oldest texts, don't get confused. It is often referred to as Brahmanaspati. And so, but over time it's become Brihaspati. So they essentially mean the same thing, Brahmanaspati and Brihaspati, and it is a god of very high order in Rig Veda. And the two deities are very much interconnected. Like I started this with the Ganesh Gayatri, and if you notice that there is Brahmanaspati does feature in, so that's a very powerful Ganesh Gayatri mantra. And so why are we talking then of Brihaspati? Because he is a form of Jupiter. Jupiter is one of the most auspicious grahas in the whole pantheon. And it is at par with Ketu. But the trouble with Ketu is that Brihaspati can help you get even sort of wealth for material existence if you follow its rules and its path. But with Ketu, it's a complete like moksha or not, that's it. So with Ketu, it's very difficult. And with Ketu, you have to give up a lot, and it's not possible given the fact that we are all here to burn a lot of our karmas coming from many lifetimes. It's not just possible to just give up everything and go sit on a mountain and meditate, which is what Ketu would like, but it's just not possible, because then we'll be born again and again. And it's like a hamster on the wheel, we'll carry on, which is like defeats the whole purpose of burning the karmas. So from that point of view, Brihaspati or Jupiter or Guru is a fantastic, the most and the highest benefic. And when I say this, I mean it's irrespective of what your Lagna is, whether it's your Lagna Lord or it is like, I'm not talking of like temporal enmity and all of that. I'm not talking of that. It is by far one of the most benefic. Okay. So obviously the transit of in Meena, in Pisces is highly, kind of coveted. We want that, especially after what we have gone through. And he is the father of the gods. So coming back to Brahmanaspati and Brihaspati, they essentially are meaning the same thing, with a little bit of difference that Brahmanaspati are the three gods to whom the Rishi Vamdev addresses his mystic hymn of praise. So Brahmanaspati and Brihaspati is a god, like I said, of very high order. And he is also the forerunner of Ganapati. So Brihaspati is a personification of purity and pure knowledge. And there are other, synonyms and epithets used for Brihaspati. Jiva, one of the greatest things of Jupiter is its ability to keep everything alive and well. That's its main force. And hence it is a Jiva Karaka as well. And it is the bright one. And why is it the bright one? Because it guides us through its knowledge. And Dishana, the intelligence and eloquence, the Vak Shakti comes from Brihaspati, so it's also the lord of speech. So, and you can't have a Vak, you can't have speech what are you going to talk if it wasn't for the knowledge? So he is ultimately the karaka of knowledge. So ultimately, by all that reasoning, he is one of the greatest. Now, there are many, many beautiful mantras and prayers in the Rig Veda. There are, and I don't want to go too much into the thing, but I really like this one. Eva Pitre Vishwadevai Vrishne Yajner Videma Namasa Havirbhi Brihaspate Supraja Virvanto Vayam Syam Patayo Rainam. Okay, so this is thus the Father, the universal Godhead, the bull of the herds, may we dispose our sacrifices and submission and oblations. O Brihaspati, full of energy, rich in offspring, may we become the masters of the felicities. So this is Sri Aurobindo's translation. This is a beautiful, beautiful hymn from the Rig Veda. Then one of my favorite mantras. Can you guys mute yourself?
Hello, Madhavji, can you mute your phone? Can you mute your? Can you just stop the recording for some moment? Okay, it's done.
Okay. So another beautiful mantra, which I would definitely, it was one of the first mantras we learned. And this is Shuchim Arkaya Brihaspatim Advareshu Namasyata Anamejyo Achake. This is also one of the beautiful, beautiful mantras. And this is for literally, ode to asking for being free of diseases, asking Brihaspati to be free of diseases, and it's an bowing down to him. I won't go into too much into the meaning. There's another very beautiful mantra, and it's a Bhagavate mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Brihaspate Shreem. So this is another very powerful mantra for well-being, especially financial well-being. Okay. Now, here we can see it's only today that Jupiter went in at 0 degrees Pisces, as you can see. This is of course a UK time, it doesn't matter, but it's interesting that tomorrow the sun is at last degrees, and tomorrow we have the the Mesha Sankranti. So this is very, very fortunate, because soon it will be Akshay Tritiya, where the sun is exalted, the moon is exalted. So, but notice something, Jupiter is between a Pap Kartari, okay? If you notice, and I will come to the Saturn transit, but notice that Mars is on one side and Rahu is on the other. And Rahu went into from Kritika, Taurus Kritika, to the first pada of Kritika in, of Taurus. But the Aries sign, it went in yesterday. For those of you who do not understand or do not know much about the nakshatras and the padas and all, roughly 2 nakshatras and 1 pada of the next nakshatra make up a whole rashi or a sign. But you can Google it. There's loads and loads of it on the internet, including on my website. So feel free to go. Now, whom is this going to be favorable? Okay, but the ingress of Jupiter. Now, according to one of the texts, I think it is the Brihad Jataka text, it talks about that if Jupiter is favorable from his position at birth, if it is first, second, third, these are houses we are talking about, okay? From Venus and Mercury, he's good at these positions. From Sun, he's good at almost all the positions, barring the 12th house and barring the 5th house, which is really interesting, that he doesn't, consider a 5th house transit of Jupiter from the Sun to be good. So, and then from Mars and Saturn, he considers 3rd, 5th, 6th, and 12th to be a very positive transit. And from the Moon again. So if you have moon in Pisces, ironically, the moon in Pisces, Jupiter in Pisces, it's an okay transit, but what Jupiter is really great at is, it's like if you have in trines, it is fantastic. Because remember, as a graha, Brihaspati has full graha drishti on 1, 5, and 9. So that's fantastic. So, moon in Cancer, moon in Pisces, moon in Scorpio will really, really blossom. This is going to be a very good transit, for as far as Jupiter is concerned. And you want Jupiter to be on your side, especially if we are talking of malefics, okay? Because invariably it is Jupiter that we have to rely on, and it is even more true. Let's say you are in a antardasha or a pratyantar dasha of Jupiter, then even this will be of more importance, okay? I don't know, you can read about this. It's the same thing about placements, about it from various placements. This is from another Paladipika from Mantreshwara. So this is again, I think similar. I would say there's not much of a difference, 2, 5, 7, and 11, while 2, 5, 7, 9, and 11. So there you go. Brihat Jataka and Paladipika are more or less concurrent from the moon. And I think even from the sun, and so on and so forth. But you can explore further. It's always good to see what Parashara has to say regarding this. But I take like 5 to 6 core texts, like from Parashara, Saravali, Brihat Nakshatra, Brihat Samhita, Jatak Parijata, Phaladipika. These are my go-to texts, for everything. So, Jataka Bharnam, and and Hora Sara. So there are about approximately 7 texts I always use, so feel free to explore further. You'll be quite busy, I assure you. Now, what is interesting, I will come back to this, but what caught my attention is Brihat Samhita of Varamira says when Jupiter passes through the sign occupied by the moon at the time of birth of a person, such person will lose his wealth, intelligence, will quit his place. And I'm assuming that's his work, where he lives, and will suffer from many quarrels. So like, what did I say? If your moon in Pisces, it's probably 1 year is going to be a little bit tricky. When Jupiter passes through the second house from the moon, the person will have no enemies and will enjoy wealth and women. Okay, so obviously people who have a moon in Pisces should wait for the moon in, Jupiter in Aries transit. And when the Jupiter passes through the third house from the moon, the person will quit his place and will meet with obstacles in his work. And it goes on. So, so there's not much nice stuff he's saying about it. When Jupiter passes through the fourth house from the moon, he'll suffer from troubles caused by kingsmen, will become patient and resigned, and will delight in nothing. Then when Jupiter passes the fifth house from moon, the person will get servants, prosperity, son. We already know 1, 5, and barring 1, 5 and 9 is a fantastic transit. Prosperity, sons, elephants, horses, bullock carts, gold, towns, houses, women, so on and so forth. So that's quite nice. When it passes through the sixth house from the moon, person will be much afflicted at heart. He will take no delight in agreeable faces of beautiful women, in the music of the peacock and the cuckoo, and in the houses made pleasant by the frolic of children playing like the young of the deer. So essentially what gives pleasure for everyday things like the music of the peacock and the twittering of the birds and all, obviously they has lost the sparkle for about a year. When Jupiter passes through the seventh from the moon, obviously it's a Gaja Keshri yoga, fantastic. And that Akshat, this holds true for you, yeah? Akshat, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
So when Jupiter, because Akshat's got moon in Virgo. So here, the seventh from the moon, the person will enjoy good bed, company of excellent women, wealth, good meals, flowers, conveyance, and he will be of good speech and intelligence. So obviously, all dual signs it's not the same. Okay, so don't jump to conclusion here. That's why I've written here, it's average for moon in dual signs. So for Virgo moon, it is good, but it is not so for Gemini, and we will come to that in a minute. Okay, and even for Sagittarius moon, it's not such a great thing. So if it's Sagittarius Lagna, moon in Sagittarius, then the Jupiter passes through the fourth house from the moon. The person will suffer from troubles caused by his kingsmen, will become patient and resigned, and will delight in nothing. So clearly, Sagittarius moon is not so fun either. So that bashes the whole dual sign. But remember, Dvishwa Bhava signs, all moon signs which are dual will have like a Hamsa Mahapurush forming. But you would think that the Hamsa Mahapurush, wow, fantastic. But actually, you have to remember one thing. But this is, of course, beyond the scope of our discussion here. Hamsa Mahapurush yoga is for other people. It's sort of, the literal translation is of a great being, like the Hamsa. But the thing is, there is a lot of suffering as well that comes with it. And because it is for other people, you have to live, and they have a separate life path almost, when we talk about the Mahapurush yogas. But like I said, it's beyond discussion right now. So the Jupiter passes through the fifth from the moon, will get servants. We went through that. Let's come to the eighth from the moon. The person will suffer from imprisonment, diseases, heavy grief, fatigue of journey, and serious illness. When Jupiter passes through the ninth house from the moon, but I would say if it is a Leo moon, that means Jupiter is passing in the eighth house. So this applies obviously for the Leo moon. But actually, I don't know. I am curious. Depends on what is happening. But Jupiter being in its own sign, obviously, for Leo Lagna, Leo moon in Leo, it is actually quite a good transit. So maybe for Leo Lagna, it is better than for Leo moon or Rashi. Okay. So there's a two distinction to be made. One is from Lagna, which is not what we are talking about, talking from the moon sign. When Jupiter passes through ninth house from the moon, person will become efficient at work, influential, will get some success, work, wealth, gains. Wow, excellent. Then now we come to Gemini, Dvishwa Bhava Rashi. When Jupiter passes through 10th from the moon, the person will quit his place, suffer loss of health and wealth. Well, I've got a cold now. So, there you go. Jupiter's like just gone in Pisces. And I have not, throughout COVID, I never had a cold. And now I'm suddenly got a cold. So, and I've got moon in Gemini. So it's really interesting. And probably I have to wait for Jupiter to go in the 11th house, because obviously, if it is a Gemini moon and Jupiter passes through the 11th house, the person will return to his country and will recover his health and wealth. Well, okay. When Jupiter passes through the 12th house, the person will suffer grief in his return journey. So, if you have, let's say, moon in Aries, then, it can be a little bit problematic. Okay. Now, there's also another thing I'm looking at. Please refer to the chapter 8 of Brihat Samhita. It talks about various classifications of Jupiter. Each year, it's called the Samvatsara. And each year has a certain classification of what the year may be. If you have a problem, there's an easy way of looking up what it means. On my website, Samvatsara, just Google it, Samvatsara, Circle of Divine Astrology, and you will find what year you are born in, because each is a unique year. And it comes with the interaction. It comes with Jovian years, that is the Sun and the Jupiter. And so each of these years, they go in a cycle of 60, Saturn, Jupiter, okay? And so they follow a particular pattern. And the years of the seventh yuga, so last year we were in Plava, okay? Remember Sarvari and Hema Lamba. And so basically one yuga has come to an end. Okay, the years of the seventh yuga, which go in the cycle of 5 years. And the first of these years, you can read about that. I don't want to go too much into that. But right now we are concerned with, we are currently in the Shubhakrit year. Now here it is there's a bit of a mix up, because this year is a Shubhakrit, next year is a Shobhakrit. Both of them are, there's minor differences, but they both are very auspicious. Okay. And so obviously Varamira, maybe it's a misprint, but other texts like Jataka Bharnam gives, so people born who are in 1962, 1963, they were born under Shubhakrit and Shobhakrit. Okay, one of these years. Okay, so, and so these are very auspicious, and there's going to be a lot of happy times. Mankind will flourish because it is Shubha, and there'll be good actions all year round. The crops will do well and things like that. There are maybe a few niggling issues, but by and large for the year it applies to everyone. But the 2024, we go into the Krodhi, which is the worst. And as we go further, you will see that Krodhi, by the time we come to 2024, we are in a our world economy is going to take a big downturn, including the world situation. Okay. And I will tell you why, because we'll come in a bit. But Parabhava, there will be, which is the other year, okay, after Krodhi, which is remaining years are Vishwavasu and Parabhava. There will be fear from fire and suffering from weapons and from diseases. The Brahmins and cows will also suffer. So it's almost like we have got a respite for this year, 2022, to, I would say, stretch it to 2023, little bit. But I think when Jupiter goes in Aries, it joins Rahu. That is not a good sign. Wars have been fought under that transit. So I do not recommend that, so whatever, I mean, I'm not recommending anything, but what I'm saying is that if there is something that, like, for example, travel or some project, something you want to do, I think this is the year to do it, and a part of next year. But after that, I think we are pretty much going downhill. Krodhi, and then, so as you can see, exceedingly miserable. The mankind will be happy during the first 2 years. So this is like a particular yuga that we have entered in. So yeah, anybody, any questions? Anyone wants to share? Akshat? No. Okay. Everyone's quiet. What happened? Oh my God, nobody wants to say a word, guys. Okay.
No, just listening.
Okay. So now we come to Shani. Okay. 17th of February, Shani went into the first pada Dhanishta. Oh, the Dhanishta's ruler, the nakshatra of Dhanishta, it's a Khandita nakshatra. What I mean by Khandita is broken in Sanskrit. That means half of little bit of Dhanishta is predominantly in Makar, which is Capricorn. And there is one pada, the fourth pada is in Aquarius. So when you have a situation where one, it begins in a certain sign, and some majority of the padas are in that particular sign, and then you have the one pada in the next zodiac sign or Rashi, that particular nakshatra is very problematic. It's called the Khandita nakshatra, okay? And that means it's kind of broken, okay? And so here, Saturn has gone in 17th February this year. And it's interesting, this is continuation of one of the chapters. I think it's 104 chapter, or I forget which, but you can, I think I've written it somewhere. I will put this PDF along with the recording, so no worries. But here, the ruler of Magad will become triumphant and treasury officers will prosper. So that is the analysis for the Dhanishta. But there are other texts which do not like Dhanishta, Makar Dhanishta. Okay. And I think there is going to be a problem. And because on 29th April, we get a glimpse of how Saturn moves into Aquarius, because it ingresses into Dhanishta third pada. Essentially, Saturn stays in Dhanishta for a whole year. So from now on 29th April, it goes into the Dhanishta Aquarius side. And then in July, I think it is 13th of July, but I'll put down the dates. I'm not sure about, I forgot. But essentially in July, it retrogrades back, it stations retrograde and goes back into Makar Dhanishta. Okay. And that is, so essentially from now till April, almost like big May to May, June, July, we get a glimpse of what it is like, the sting we will get, a flavor of what is this flavor. Is it vanilla flavor, or is it like, chocolate chip, or cookie flavor? God knows what is in store, because that's what is going to happen with this little advent of Aquarius. Shani is Maharaj is telling us, okay, you get a flavor in Aquarius, let's see what happens. And then it goes back into the Makar sign. And the course of Saturn should lie through the constellations of Shatabhishach and Purva Bhadra. And physicians, poets, drunkards, or those who deal in liquor, tradesmen, and ministers will be afflicted with miseries. Now, Shatabhishach and Purva Bhadra, they fall in Aquarius. Okay. Now, the thing about these nakshatras is, the sign of Aquarius stands for making, it's got two rulers. Remember, Shani, it's Shani's Multrikona, and it's Rahu Swakshetra. Wow. And what does Rahu do best? It makes liquor, it makes beautiful wines, beautiful drinks, sparkling drinks, green drinks, blue drinks, all kinds of like tequilas, and all of that fall under Rahu. It's Rahu's domain. So, and the sign of Aquarius is not just about as in liquor, but liquids too. Because remember, Kumbha in Sanskrit means like a pot where you're putting things in, Kumbhaka. It's like in pranayama, you do the Kumbhaka where you hold your breath, that is exactly the same thing. So Kumbha has associations with that as well. So what is a pot but a holding a vessel for water and liquids of all kinds? Okay. So hence the association of Kumbha. Now, one of the best and the most natural remedies, which I absolutely adore and I follow it, is if you have any, even if you don't have predominance of, planets in Aquarius, or sun or moon, it doesn't matter. You can just have a little copper vessel and put water in, at least while the Shani is in Kumbha Rashi, and that will help you to also, that is also one of a very strong remedy for overcoming some of the problems of Shani. Okay, so that is one thing. So the Kumbha association of Shani is again like we are back to liquids, and the sign Kumbha also has associations with chemicals and chemical factories and all kinds of mixing. It's like an alchemy, it's like an alchemist, is a phenomenal alchemist. Okay, so that is very, very important. So hence one of the when Shani goes in its own Multrikona, physicians, poet, drunkards, that's why the association of drunkards and those dealing in liquor, tradesmen and ministers will be afflicted with misery. So this is a bit of a warning. So as much as you think that, oh wow, Shani, it's in its own Multrikona, fantastic, but actually, you know what, the results will be given by the Uchchanath. Okay, it will not be given by Shani. And in the absence of if it is a in the own sign, if a particular Mool Trikona or Swakshetra, then it is Rahu, the other ruler, we will have to look at. And Rahu is in Aries, which is, ruled by Mars. So again, we are back to Mars and Venus dichotomy, So it will be Rahu who will be calling the shots. Okay. So please bear these very important things in mind. But we will get a very strong flavor of Saturn in Dhanishta throughout this year. And this is like the last chance express of in Makar. After January 2023, it moves out of Makar forever, at least for the next 30 years. So as you can see that there's suffering here for these kind of people. Now, what another interesting thing I found from chapter 14 in Brihat Samhita, carrying forward, is that Charmaranga refers to a country belonging to Paschimottara, that is northwestern division, classified under the constellations of Uttarashada, Shravana, and Dhanishta as per Brihat Samhita. So remember, Bharatvarsh is like the center, like India, center of India is, or the Indian subcontinent is taken as the center, which is called the Bharatvarsh. And then they map out in the Kurma, placements about various regions. And there it says that, and they map the nakshatras starting from Kritika in a batch of 333. Okay. So we get 9 sets there. Okay. So the countries of the earth beginning from the center of Bharatvarsh and going around the east, southwest, south, etc. 9 divisions corresponding to the 27 lunar asterisms, as I just mentioned. But the Dhanishta one represents the northwestern division. That means, can we say the Russian region? Because when we look at India, where is northwestern? When we talk of the northwest and northeast, we have China encompassing. And to be honest, it's also north and northeast also, it expands China, and as well as Russia. So obviously there are troubles coming from there. Okay. Now, this you can, they are ruled, the Dhanishta is ruled by 8 Vasus, and so it will follow this trajectory of Dhanishta, Purva Bhadra. We've already done Shravana, so Dhanishta, Shatabhishach, and Purva Bhadra. So this is the trajectory it will follow. Okay. So again, the Varuna, we come back to Shatabhishach about in which falls in Aquarius, and it is of course a beautiful, because a lot of healing takes place here. And so when Saturn is in Aquarius, remember one thing, lot of healing will take place for people. People will be able to find health solutions, so it just won't be like all hell will break loose. But of course, that also I am not ruling it out. On a global level, I think we will run into, as we saw the Samvatsara, we have a respite of 1.5 years, after which 2024, I think we are going to be in trouble on a collective level. So, and it will continue. So I think in a way it is Rahu who's leading the way in terms of all the troublemaker, and Rahu has always been the mischief maker anyways. Okay. And like I said, because Saturn's hands are tied, it's at Tattva level, it is the results are going to be given by Rahu. But Saturn, in, as we will see later, that Saturn, when many centuries ago, when Saturn went into Aquarius, Varuna, the god of cosmic waters, has got huge healing capacity, huge. Okay. So hence it is also like alternative medicine and healing on alternative remedies, and remedies like homeopathy and all the Ayurvedic remedies, all of that will be very it will take big time. It will move forward, especially pharmaceutical industries and all of that. Already they've made loads of money with COVID, but I think it will be in a different league now altogether. And this is all because of Shatabhishach in Aquarius, the Kumbha association, as well as Varuna association, and not to mention Shatabhishaj is the royal physician. You know, it has a power of great powers of many, many physicians, like 1,000 or 100, you know. So that's sort of a physician healing capacity we are talking about. But of course, Rahu will, you know, kind of spoil the show. Moving forward, now we all know this, right? So I don't want to get into this third house aspects of Shani and, you know, whom and all of that, and what he's Karaka for. Remember that Mars is actually the Karaka for the sixth house and not Shani. But when it comes to diseases and all that, you know, then it becomes the sixth house Karaka. Okay. And we all know about this, that Rahu's Mool Trikona, you know, exaltation is Taurus, Gemini, and Shani's is Libra, Mool Trikona, Aquarius. I've just been doing that. So move forward. Then Saturn and Rahu are Vayu Tattva. So of course, you know, like I said, there is going to be massive changes and major innovation in terms of, like, you know, breathing, and on a global level, you know, breathing remedies to do with that. I think more and more people will manage to solve their own problems in terms of their own, and they will have to take to their own. You know, there's no doubt about that. Now, which signs are going to be problematic? We all know about Sade Sati, so I'm not going to spend too much time on Sade Sati, okay, which is like the Saturn's transit 12th from the moon on the moon sign, and the second from the moon. It is problematic. 7th from the moon sign, problematic. But third from the moon, whichever is actually very, very nice. You know, 6th from the moon is very nice. So Saturn is traveling 6th from you. You know, it's actually a very nice. So Leo moons, because Makar is still not wrapped up, Shani in Makar. So it's all right. You know, and what else? Yeah, 11th from there, and but 8th is a problematic one again. So for Gemini moon, you know, Saturn has been in Capricorn, so that is a big problem. You know, it's an issue, and it is more of an issue if you have the moon in Gemini, or you know, in Makar or Aquarius in your Navamsh. So everybody, please check what moon sign it is in your Navamsh, because that is extremely important. Because actually the Saturn's transit from the Navamsha moon is as important, if not more, compared to the Rashi chakra. Okay. Now, suns. Okay. Now Saturn transit from the sun, places from the sun 1, 2, 4, 7, 8, 10, 11 are good. So sun in Aquarius, sun in Capricorn, sun in Scorpio, sun in Leo, sun in Cancer, Taurus, Aries is a good one. Okay. So that's not too bad. Okay. And similarly, you can read about, calculate for your own natal, you know, Mars, and you can, this is all sort of Ashtakavarga, you know, chapter of, you can see whether it's Brihat Samhita or in Parashara, you know, you can find these references. So feel free to calculate what is going on. But remember one thing, the most important is Lagna, Surya, and the tripod, mind, body, soul, mind, body, soul, Lagna, Surya, and Chandra. Okay, transit of Saturn from there will give you, result, especially if you have, let's say, you know, Antardasha of Shani going on, or Dasha of Shani going on, then it is really, really vital. And if you have Shani conjunction, let's say you have Shani moon conjunction, then definitely, you know, there is that means you were born in a Sade Sati. Okay, so you're attuned to those energies. But does that mean it will be a little bit easier? Well, it depends on where its placement is, where it is, and things like that. Okay. Like Swami Vivekananda had it in his 10th house, moon. That's a Kalika yoga, moon and Shani, Chandra and Shani. So that was fantastic. It did him very good. That's a huge Raj yoga. But of course, he was a monk, he was a ascetic. So you have to consider all things. Okay. And Saturn is benefic from 6th, 11th house, 12th house places from Jupiter. So like I said, feel free to figure out, so for at the moment, Venus in Pisces is having actually quite people who have placements of Venus in Pisces is actually quite nice, because Saturn is traveling on the 11th house in Makar, and then it'll travel into Aquarius, which is very nice. Okay. So I'm just giving you an example of how you read. Okay. Now, from the Lagna, beneficial transit, it is one third house, first house, that is Lagna. So now, when I say Lagna, I'm going to keep it a bit of a mixed bag, okay? Because sometimes it is good. It depends on, if you're Aquarius Lagna, then it is going to be a little bit of a mixed result. Because remember, Saturn is in Aquarius. Yes, of course, big changes, because it is on your Lagna. Next 30 years, all things are going to change. But the results are given by Rahu. It's other Lagna Lord. Okay. And don't forget, Aquarius have the luxury or the fortune or whatever you can call, because any planet that goes in Aquarius suffers. But Aquarius Lagna people have suffered anyway so much, because they have Lagna in Aquarius, that they have sacrificed so much, that, and because of that, both their lords, they can manage being malefic. So never forget that dual rulership of Aquarius. Okay. Is everybody understanding that? Any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions? No? Okay. So you guys will now go and calculate, okay, what's going on where. So, so the problematic is, I've crossed the problematic ones, okay, here. From Lagna, second house. So let's say Saturn is in Capricorn. So obviously second house is Aquarius, but like I just explained, it's a bit of a mixed bag, okay? So don't jump, figure out where your actual Lagna lords are, Rahu and Shani, and then pass a judgment, and what dasha also you are in. It's not just the transit. Unlike Western astrology, we look at the dasha takes precedence. Then we look at the transit and whether it matches to the pratyantar or the bhukti, and all of that. And then we also see the bindus, the Ashtakavarga, how many bindus are there in so, and it's a simple chart which tells you like Saturn's whether how good Saturn is. If there are 0 bindus or low number of bindus, then it is terrible. That particular transit of Saturn to that particular sign is not going to be favorable. So check up on various softwares. All softwares will give you that. So feel free to check that up. Okay. And from Lagna, second house, 5th house, 7th house, 8th house, 9th house, and 12th house ascendance is problematic. Okay. Okay. So Gemini, Pisces, Cancer, Leo, Capricorn, and Libra. And of course, Aquarius, I've put it highlighted because, as I said, it's a mixed bag. Okay. So now from the moon, we already went through some of the stuff, but the Sagittarius, Virgo, Taurus, and Aries moons will have a little bit of a leeway. It will be beneficial overall for them. Okay. By and large, I'm saying it will be beneficial. But of course, you need to also check, like I said, you Ashtakavarga points, how much it is, what dasha you are in, what antardasha, what pratyantar dasha, 3 levels. So there's a lot of stuff you have to check. You can't just say, oh, I've got a transit over my moon. Oh my God, it's terrible. it's not always like that, you know. A lot of people get married when they have Saturn transiting their moon, you know. um who's that famous actor, George Clooney? His wife got married when Saturn was in Scorpio, and she's got Scorpio moon. So you see, there's a lot of stuff you have to consider. Okay. Okay. So I've made a little ready reckoner here for Aries moon, not good. And not good for Saturn in Capricorn. Remember, Capricorn, it will go for about 6 to 7 months, July to January. So, but it's good for Aquarius because Saturn will be in the 11th house for Aries moon. For Taurus, excellent. For Taurus is having a real good thing going, you know. Gemini, Capricorn, not good, obviously, because it is in the 8th from Chandra Lagna, but Saturn in Aquarius, good. Cancer, inauspicious as anxiety, shared resources, because remember, for Cancer, Saturn is in the 7th house in Makar, and then it goes in the 8th house. How can that be good? And it will be aspecting Cancer sign, their moon, you know. Any transit, it's called the I think it's called the Kantaka Shani. Yeah, it's called the Kantaka Shani. Okay, from your moon sign, if Shani is in the 8th house, then it is specific name is given. It's like the thorn, Kantaka Shani. And don't forget to check it in your D9. So you may well have the Kantaka Shani, right? I have Kantaka Shani because my moon is in Gemini, but touch wood, you know, so far not so bad. But also check from there are many other significations, you know. I haven't checked, but maybe the Ashtakavarga points are all right, you know. So again, like I said, there is many things you have to see, not just one thing. Then Leo, Saturn in Capricorn, not great, but Aquarius is a mixed bag. So when Saturn goes in Aquarius, it's okay. Virgo in the 5th from Saturn. Sorry, it's in the 5th house from Virgo moon. Saturn in Aquarius is superb. So they will start new projects, new things will come up. They will work fantastic. So Virgo is sign, moon Rashi is having a good stuff going. Libra, inauspicious, healthy related caution, health related caution, but Aquarius is good. Scorpio is good for from foreign lands and gains. Sagittarius is excellent, especially in Aquarius, wishes fulfilled. Because remember, from Sagittarius, Shani in Aquarius will be in the 3rd house. Is everybody getting this? It's simple, yeah? So 3rd house is good, you know. So it's a dushchikya bhava. Dushchikya is like evil, you know. It's like mental problems, the anxiety is dushchikya, horrible. But because it is dushchikya, you have another karaka of dushchikya in it, you know. So which is creating problems and disease and all that. So they kind of cancel out each other. So Sagittarius is excellent, like I said, and Capricorn mixed, total change in life, financial loss, slow going. Aquarius, Shani, not so okay, but troubles from family will come. Aquarius, loss of health issues, stress related, do not start. This is not the time to start new projects, but it will set the way for the next 30 years. Aquarius moon, you know, there'll be new stuff going. So in a way, I think you have to just grin and bear it for a little while, and because you are in your Sade Sati, but I think wait till the Saturn is in Pisces, and then things will be a bit better. And then for Pisces moon, they are starting their Sade Sati. So Saturn is in 11th in Capricorn, which is their last hurrah, you know, for Pisces moon, because it's in the 11th sign. So socially okay. But the minute it hits Aquarius, feel free to post it. And I want to know what's happening with Pisces moon. Okay. Everybody okay? Any questions so far? No? Nobody has questions?
No.
Wow. Okay. So, now when we come to Rahu, assessing Rahu, what seems to be the problem with Rahu and Ketu? We have to see to make an assessment with Rahu and Ketu, we have to see where they are in your chart. Number one, what planets they conjoin natally in the Rashi chart, in the Navamsh. What are the Karaka of, as in like, is it like Matri Karaka, or, what is it, the Atma Karaka? If it is Atma Karaka, then, and if you're having a transit of Shani on it, then yes, it's going to be a problem. Okay. Um, and there are many factors you have to check. Okay. And how it is placed from the moon and Lagna and the nakshatra, the Tara, nakshatra Tara from moon and Lagna. I'm not going to cover it, but it is just Google it. It's very simple. Whatever your moon nakshatra, the first from the moon nakshatra, which is your karma nakshatra, sorry, the 10th one is the karma nakshatra. Wherever your moon is, that's your natal swakshetra moon nakshatra. Okay, that's fine. So the second from there is positive, it creates wealth. Okay, third is problematic, it gives you trouble. Fourth is good, it's about home and wealth creation and all that. Then comes the fifth nakshatra Tara from your moon. And the fifth one is again a problem. The sixth one is about achievements and, well-being and moving forward. So the sixth one is very good. Seventh one is absolutely problems and death. But death, I don't mean like in a negative sense of death. It's not about dying literally, but on a more metaphoric level. Okay. And then is the seventh and the eighth and the ninth are very nice, Mitra and Ati Mitra. So if you have any of the transiting Shani or Rahu in let's say 3, 5 or 7, then it's going to be a problem. It's like a double dose you're getting, of problems. So check from there as well. Okay. Now, Kritika is, ruled by the sun. Won't go too much into it. And its ruler is Agni Dev. Okay. Agni is very, very strong fire, and Kritika is a very important nakshatra. But it is the Aries side we are talking about now. So people with sun in Aries and moon in Aries are going to feel that there's a Grahan Yoga, and we have an eclipse on 30th of April. So that's going to be an added complication. It's in the sign of Bharani though. So, but it will still affect the Rashi, so don't jump with joy. It will still affect the Rashi, Aries. And Bharani is the Vedic deity is Yamaraj or Dharmaraja, which is a god of death and justice. And it is represented by, of course, the female sexual organ, but also it is about food. There's a very close association of Bharani with food and what you can eat. And, about even though it's ruled by Venus, there's a very strong associations of food. So, what feeds you and things like that. And it represents the Yamaloka because Dharmaraj is the king of Yamaloka. So it's a very intense, very krura nakshatra, very fierce, very fierce. Okay. It's not an easy nakshatra. So Rahu passing through there is going to create a lot of problems. And then we have Ashwini, which is all about healing and quick healing and things like that. And it's the Ashwin Kumars, the celestial doctors. And so this also will create a problem, but it's kind of welcome coming to Ashwini. But I think out of the three, Kritika and I think Bharani is the worst of the lot. Okay. So, and then we have the Ketu as a Moksha Karaka, from Vishakha, it has gone into Vishakha yesterday, and it will go into Swati, which is very nice, ruled by Hanuman. So you with Vayu god, so Hanuman Chalisa, listening to Hanuman when it goes in Swati is a fantastic remedy. And then it'll go into Chitra, okay, which is the celestial architect, which is Twashtra. So Mars, check where Mars is in your chart, because that Mars is going to give you a problem, okay? Especially if it is in Chitra, there, and it especially depends on its placement. If it's a malefic placement, there may be issues going on there, okay? It's like the Kartikeya and Ganesh fighting with each other, because Ketu and Mars conjunction is not a it's a Pishacha yoga, so it is going to give problems, okay? Now, one of the first, the most important things is Arud. Where is it placed from your Arud? Arud calculations I am not going to go into, but find your Arud. That is your little exercise. You've got to work with this, okay? Where is your Arud? What is Arud? It's your like a Maya. You may have a lot of planets. Everything is great. Ascendant, exalted, moon, and all of that will be fantastic. But what are people perceiving about you? What are you going to leave behind in the memories of people? That is all Arud. The Karaka of that is the moon. So it's like an auxiliary ascendant. Okay, it's an extra level, but it always manifests. That's the beauty about Arud. Okay. And because it is all to do with manifestation, any transit of Rahu, Ketu, especially Shani, will 100% manifest. Okay. It's going to be problematic. Okay. 100%. Akshat? Where's Akshat? Any questions so far?
Yes, I'm here actually. I just muted.
Akshat.
Yeah.
Do you want to say something about Arud?
I think you have covered everything. See what is happening. Arud is a very dynamic concept actually. Okay. So take the basics. Saturn is destroying the Arud. Ketu is making it 0. And Rahu is giving you Bhoga of the Arud. So that is how you see the transit.
Yeah.
If suppose it's Rahu is transiting someone's Arudha Lagna, then it is good for this Arudha Lagna. But we have to see where the Saturn is, because there are so many, because Arudha works in Kendras also, Arudha works in trines also.
Yeah.
Okay. For someone who has an Arudha in Aquarius, and Saturn is good, because Saturn has started giving results of Aquarius, because Saturn is always giving results from 3 to 4 months back.
Yeah.
Okay, so they might have a very big problem, and we have to see that what dasha they are running. Someone is running a bad dasha and there's a transit of the Arudha over the of the Saturn, then it's a problem for them. It's a lot of problem for them.
Yeah.
Okay, but comparatively, we see that Saturn in Aquarius is much better than Saturn in Capricorn, because the malefic Saturn is not spreading, because it's not in a Chara Rashi. What has happened? The moment the Saturn has entered into Capricorn and was aspected by the nodes, COVID spread like wildfire, because it is in a Chara Rashi.
Yeah.
Okay. And what has happened at the same time, have Jupiter moved into Sagittarius. Okay. So almost 3 years ago, because what is happening? We don't like the Jiva to be in Agni sign, or in a Prithvi sign, or in a Vayu sign. Okay, the best rashis for a jiva is actually a Jala Rashi, because it is the same tattva of its exaltation. So Jupiter in Pisces is much more better for people.
Yeah.
It is going to give us relief from that, and that toll has to come down.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So,
and then there's a Papa Kartari happening, but we see that Jupiter in Pisces is extremely strong. So when Jupiter is in Pisces, it has the power to take up to 3 malefics. So Jupiter will break that Papa. Okay.
It will break the Pap Kartari.
Yeah, it will break the Papa, because Jupiter in Pisces is actually very, very strong. Because Jupiter, we say that it's a Brahman Raja.
Yeah.
Right. It's a Brahman Raja. And what is for a Brahman is the mind. The mind has to be cooled off. So a mind who is cool and still and vast like an ocean is a very good mind.
Yeah.
So that is how the transit of the Jupiter is going to give a lot of benefit results, because the Jupiter is gaining strength. Saturn in Aquarius is going there, and Saturn is coming to a Sthira Rashi. So it's much more, what we say, confined. It will be much more confined damage. Saturn in Capricorn, you can check the transits across the world. Whenever the Saturn is in Capricorn and aspected by the nodes, it's complete havoc.
Yeah.
These things are going to turn a lot, and we see that when we going to, when Jupiter again goes to Aries, then it will be a problem, because Jupiter is again in Agni Rashi. Then again the people's mind start boiling up, and they are again going for fighting, and things are going to happen.
Yeah.
But
Akshat, but isn't it true that transit of Shani, especially in trines or kendras to the Arudha Lagna, is quite life transforming, and it can be quite uncomfortable.
What is happening? Let me see. You have taught about Samvatsara, and from the Samvatsara we take Jupiter and we take Saturn.
Yeah.
What is the yoga when we combine Jupiter and Saturn together? It's called a Brahma Yoga, that they are creating something. Okay, so Jupiter and Saturn and transits are nothing but the activation of the karma of that particular bhava or Rashi that they're going in. Saturn is giving you the karmic results, bad, good or bad, depending upon your past life karma, because Saturn is Dharam Raja. And Jupiter is giving you knowledge. Oh, you have these karmas, you can remedy them. Jupiter is the guru over there. Okay, so Jupiter is the guru. So what is happening? And Saturn is, that is why they are, whenever we say that, okay, the transit of Saturn or Jupiter from the 12th of the moon, a person can get married, or person gets married during a Sade Sati, because that marriage is a past life karma coming to fulfillment right there.
Yeah.
Marriages in Sade Sati, or things that happen in Sade Sati, are all coming from past life. And we have a lot of karmic burden. That is why Saturn is the natural lord of the 10th karma, and the 11th what is your Labh Bhava. Okay, so we have to see that. And that is how we see that when Saturn is transiting to trines to Arudha, because Saturn is like a mud, so it is destroying everything. It is putting mud on you. Okay, that is a very, very advanced concept we see from when Saturn is trying to the Arudha, that is the time that your whole image or your whole body can be destroyed. The same goes with Ketu. Ketu is turning you into spirituality. Ketu is not destroying. Ketu is simply converting everything to zero. If Ketu is transiting to Libra, and if you have planets in Libra, consider them as zero. It's the Mahashunya over there. That is the problem. So these are very, very crucial transits. So we have to see what planets you have in those signs. What houses are there from your Lagna. Okay, because there are a lot of different opinions. Parashara says that a Kantak Shani is when Kantak is like a thorn. What is happening like a thorn? It is actually pinching you and causing too much of what? When Saturn is transiting from the 8th or 10th from any bhava, it is a Kantak Shani. Because from the 8th, it is aspecting your 10th house, that is your natural thorn. So whenever Saturn is transiting, 10th from your Lagna, 10th from your moon, or 8th from your Lagna, or 8th from your moon, it is a big problem. It's like a mini Sade Sati, because Saturn is activating a lot of karmic burden on you. So there are different ways to see it. And what are the worst transits? One of the transits is one upon you, Atma Karaka. If Atma Karaka is whole, because what is the planet with the Atma Karaka? Planet with the highest karma is your Atma Karaka. That is why Atma Karaka is always a problem. And that is why Atma Karaka says it, because it has to give you more karma to see. You have to cut more karma. So problems, transits from the Atma Karaka, if you have a nodal transit of that karma, it is going to be very bad. Suppose someone who has an Atma Karaka in Aries or in Libra, it's going to be a lot of problem. And Atma Karaka for someone in Aquarius, it's a problem for them. It's much more problematic than a person who's running a Sade Sati.
So what if Saturn itself is Atma Karaka is one of the questions.
What is it? Then we have to see which sign the Saturn is placed. Then it is your Saturn return.
Yeah.
It means that you have completed one circle of Saturn. Because what is happening, you see, that Saturn is the Kala. Okay. Saturn is the Kala. Saturn, we say that it is always following Brahma. Saturn is always direct because it's always going onward, and Ketu is the reverse. So when the first circle of Saturn, someone who is born right now and who is having his first Sade Sati, someone's child, that will be much less problematic for the child of a person who is having actually second Sade Sati.
Yeah.
Because as you grow older, as you're growing old, you're going towards more and more of Saturn.
And also more mature. That's why the Naisargika Dasha of Shani begins at age 70.
Because that is why you're going, because you have completed and you're going towards Saturn. That is why it's very hard to say it's very hard for a person to survive the third Sade Sati. Very few people who have a very strong Lagna and a very strong Jupiter can survive actually the third Sade Sati.
True.
Okay, so we have to see for a person who just born, people who are born in the Sade Sati, they say, okay, he was born in the Sade Sati, but there was not much trouble. But when the second Sade Sati comes, then the real trouble will start. Because it has completed one cycle of 30 years. Now you're coming into domain of Saturn. Slowly
so what I understand, Akshat, is that it will then bring a different set of karmas from
a different set of karma. Because when you see the Chakra Dasha, also the Dasha is going around and round in the same 12 houses, but each and every year of the Sudarshan, when every cycle comes in, there's a different karma in there.
True, absolutely.
Okay. So that is how the things are going. Just very, very dynamic things actually. Okay, because Parashari's view is very, very different. And we do not consider that if suppose someone is born in Aquarius Lagna, Saturn on the Lagna, we do not consider auspicious. It is especially written Parashar because the Karaka of the Lagna is Sun, and Sun is getting hit when Saturn is in the Lagna because it's in Maranagana. So Aquarius Lagna people have to take care of their health and of their home and their work. I've seen people whose parents are alive, and then the Saturn transits their Lagna, it's devastating for the parents actually. It's devastating because what is happening from the Lagna, Saturn is affecting the third house and the 10th house. Both are marka points for the parents actually. Yeah. Okay, so anybody who's Aquarius Lagna have to take care of their health. And second thing, most important, if they have parents, they have to take care of the health of the parents. So different remedies are prescribed for them. Okay, when Saturn is transiting your Lagna, they said that okay, you stand in the sun. Or you can worship Kal Bhairav. That is the Bhairava of Saturn, so that the negative of the Saturn is taken away. Okay, when Saturn is transiting the 8th house from there, then the energy of the Rudra has to be activated. The same goes when Saturn is in the 12th from the moon also. Saturn with the moon transit, that is Kalika. Everybody knows when Saturn and moon are together, it's Kalika. But what type of Kali and what form of Kali you have to worship, that is the issue. That is why the pinpoint remedies have to come. Yeah. Anybody who wants knowledge, anybody who has this Kalika yoga, who wants knowledge and become a monk, can worship the same as Swamiji is worshipped as Parmeshwari Kali for knowledge. But there are different forms of Kali.
It's my favorite one.
Yeah, because Kali. It is coming from the 9th house. Parmeshwari, Param. Ishwar is coming from there. So that is how we have to worship. So suppose someone is starting for Meena Lagna, for Meena Rashi, the Sade Sati is going to start and they started giving. So what is happening? Their home is getting disturbed. So what way they need? They need the energy of the Rudra over there. Hanuman Chalisa can be there. Then so many remedies are there. Rudra Abhishek can be done. So many things. When Saturn is on the moon sign, then you have to worship Kali. Okay. And what is happening when Saturn is in the second from the moon sign? Then it's the energy of the Krishna. You have to say, oh Vishnu or Narayan, I have to come into your Sharan to protect me from there. Because second house from the moon is your work. So we will see. Now we'll come to see that other Ashtakavarga points, other bindus. If the Ashtakavarga low is there and Saturn is started, it's completely devastated.
Absolutely.
You have to check the strength of the house. If suppose a Saturn is transiting from anybody's, it's the first one, someone is Pisces moon and Saturn is coming to Aquarius. And they check, oh, what has happened? The Ashtakavarga point is less than 30. It's very low. Less than 30 is extremely weak. Then that part of that Sade Sati is going to be very, very difficult. And suppose someone who's having Moon Atmakarka, Moon Atmakarka, their Sade Sati middle part is worse because they're running their Sade Sati also, they are running their transit from this thing also.
Absolutely.
From the Atmakarka also. But that is how the Saturn is activating karma where it goes. Saturn is only giving the result of your own karma, be it good or bad.
But it's interesting, Akshat, that I've always noticed that whenever Saturn, whether it's Kantaka Shani or whether it is like 12th from Sade Sati, it always matches the Dasha, Antardasha or Pratyantar
Yeah,
Dasha.
because that is how the karma is going to manifest, right?
So it works like magic. I mean,
It works like yeah, it works. It will work like magic. People, because these are the bad transits of Saturn actually. But
yeah,
people have nobody talks about what is one of the worst transit of Saturn. Whenever you check any chart, whenever Saturn is transiting anywhere, and he puts a distri on your eighth lord, that is the time you had it.
worse. There's a here.
That is very, very different. You take any chart random, because what is happening, what is at times, what is some Sade Sati is happening in the Navamsha, and you're looking at the Rashi.
Here, I've put it here on the slide.
Yeah.
The Randar Bhava, whether it's transiting the
Worse,
Randar
Saturn
or the
is
Lord.
worse. Saturn is worse.
Yeah.
Saturn, you have any transit over the eighth lord, stick to your wife, don't get into affair, you will have it. That is one of the remedies that I told my clients to do, because what is happening, the eighth house energy is activating and they want to break the marriage or to go for some little adventures in the eighth house.
Yeah.
Because what is happening, I told my Guruji, what is happening in the eighth, you should decide, but what is in the Saturn will go in the ninth, so everybody will know. So that is actually because you don't want to activate the energy of the eighth house. One of the worst energies is there.
It's like a pit.
It's like a pit. It's like a karmic. Whole your life, people's life get ruined actually.
Yeah.
People's life is ruined. Any transit, it's worse than Sade Sati, you can see that.
And
because
I think one of the most painful is the eighth lord transit or Antardasha or transit of Shani or the malefics over the eighth lord.
Yeah, it's very, very problem. You don't want to touch your eighth lord. The eighth lord is like a planet who is like a necessary evil, because you need that eighth lord. Because it has to give you Ayu. And why it is giving you Ayu? Because you have to suffer for that long. Okay, that is why Saturn in the 8th and 11th house, why Saturn in the 11th house gives a long Ayu. It is aspecting the 8th house.
Yeah.
It is aspecting, it has a full distri on the 8th. So Saturn is telling, okay, I'll make you suffer till old age. We'll suffer all the diseases and you will survive, because you have to suffer a lot.
Yeah. So
That is,
if you have like any graha which has got low auspicious points, let's say if you have Venus and it's low auspicious, like really low in Binna Ashtakavarga or
then the remedy has to be
Sarvashtakarga.
as prescribed by Parasha in the Ashtakavarga, because they are different and remedies are prescribed.
Yeah.
That is a part of the Ashtakavarga itself. Sometimes it's donation of a cow, some mantra has to be, there's a complete list of the remedies prescribed by the Ashtakavarga.
Yeah. And also if you have, let's say the in Gandanta one of the lords is placed, then also it's going to create a lot of problems. Okay.
So actually it's going to create a lot.
Or let's say you have Venus in conjunction in Aquarius with, let's say in your Rashi chart, it's with Rahu. Okay. Now, of course, Rahu is Swakshetra, it's strong. But what about Venus? It's afflicted.
Venus is gone.
Yeah. See? So then when the transit of, let's say, Rahu comes, in Aries, which is what we are having now, it's going to be really devastating. And Shani is going to be in Aquarius, then it's like a double thing. A lot of the karma will come through Rahu's karma will come through that Venus.
Yeah, because see what is happening for Aries right now, this transit is not going to go, because what is, people are forgetting the basics. Saturn is transiting in the 11th house, but that is the natural Badak house also.
True, absolutely.
That is the natural Badak house, and Saturn is going to aspect the Aries. Yeah. Saturn's third house aspect and Saturn's aspect are not good.
Yeah.
Don't want the Saturn's aspect on anything, because what are the key points, the problem points in your chart is where Saturn is aspect, oh, you have a lot of karmic debt over there. That is how the things are happening. So we need to check, because Saturn is something, Saturn can be very good for someone who is absolutely pure, who speaks the truth. Everybody has dirt on them. Saturn is telling you that nobody is pure.
Okay.
That is how it's going to tell.
Okay, we'll do now quickly wrap it up with some remedies. Yeah. Now, this is really interesting. Again, we are back to which problems, back to Brihat Samhita, chapter 14 on Kurma Vibhaga. Okay. Now, the countries, again, Bharatvarsh, the center, and then we calculate which nakshatra belongs to what. So, the constellation. So, essentially, Varamira is saying that you have to divide up and start it from Kritika in the batches, like I already mentioned, in 3 batches, 3 nakshatras, and each of these then will fall under, will represent a certain direction and those countries associated with it. Now look here, Revati, Ashwini and Bharani represent the northeastern countries like Kashmira. I'm assuming that's Kashmir, but these are some of the works for you guys. If you care to do it. I haven't done my little work on which country has, stands for what, but some of them are very obvious. China, for sure, we are going to have a problem in that region, 100%. Already we've had issues there, but there is politically, I think this is going to be a real hotbed there when Rahu goes in, moves through Bharani and Ashwini. So this is how you figure out where it's going to go. So there are other countries as well he's talking about, but I would like you guys to do some research, don't rely on me to figure it out. So so this is interesting. Now we come to a little bit of the remedies, okay? The Vedic mantras. Hom Shan Sharishcharai Nama. There are many, many mantras of Shani, okay? There are like literally many mantras. I like simple mantras, okay? I like simple Rudra mantras too. Hom Rudrai Nama. Hom Hanumate Rudrai Nama. There are many of them you can go through. Okay, drop me a line in the Telegram group if you want something specifically. But some of these are beautiful. Om Tram Trin Traum Sa Ketave Nama. Om Bram Brim Braum Sa Rahave Nama. So, and of course, because it will be forming a Kal Sarpa in the sky, especially even if you have one planet outside of the whole Sarpa or malefics in Kendras, 2 plus more, you are suffering from Sarpa Yoga. Okay, I just get this clear. Don't argue, just understand, accept it, and then go for the remedy. Okay, because there are remedies are many. Of course, it's Om Namah Shivaya. Ideally, you want to be initiated into it. Fasting on Nag Panchami, but that is just one of the remedies. Peacock feathers. A lot of these remedies are, of course, I don't want to use the word tamasic, but it has to, the best remedy, in my opinion, is mantra and meditation. Because because that is like Rud energy. It's crying. How do you cry? You can't go wail at a marketplace or go to a shopping mall and start weeping at the top of your voice. You can't do that. They'll put you in, incarcerate you. They'll say mental asylum case, forget it. So the best thing is mantra japa and mauna vrat. Mauna vrat is maybe an hour. Begin with half an hour. Just keep quiet. Do not touch your devices. No phones, nothing.
This is a good remedy for Libra right now, actually. They have to start keeping Mauna-vrata.
Yeah, nothing. Don't speak to anyone. Don't. Just sit in a room quietly doing nothing. Don't even do japa. Just sit quiet. Because the mind then, there will be the manana, shravana. Don't listen to like iPod, some, and then say, oh, my half an hour just flew by. That's not the idea, So if you want, you can even go for a walk, but it has to be silence, complete silence. Okay. So these are some of the remedies. Then there are many, many Sarpa remedies. Silver images of serpent and a piece of sandalwood. Offer a copper image of a serpent on the Shivaling in the Shiva temple. My favorite one is lighting an oil lamp in the evening, especially around sunset, because I think Mangal, Rahu, and Shani are very active at that time, very potent. So any remedy, especially if it's like the Mahamrutyunjaya mantra or Mrutyunjaya or any japa at that time, is absolutely fantastic. But do it after you've lit a lamp, and make sure that the lamp is brass lamp. Keep it clean. Do not, like, reused, or like ghee or oil reuse. Don't do all of that. Just make sure everything is like clean, and that kind of a thing. There are some like pair of iron images of a serpent in running water, fresh radishes, arms, barley seeds next to your bed at night, and then feed it to the birds. There are many. There's even like sugar and sesame seeds on a Saturday to red ants. Drop it in a garden or something. There are many remedies, but my favorite one is the mantra japa in the evening, which is the most powerful time. And there's also root of ashwagandha for Ketu afflictions, Rahu. Now, Shiva Tandav Stotra, learn it, because if it's Rahu's conjoining your Jupiter or Rahu is conjoining your Surya, then Dakshinamurti Shiva, Hom Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurte or Dakshinamurte Rataram. All those mantras are superb. Google it, find out more about Dakshinamurti Stotra. So all of those are good. Then my other favorite is the Hanuman mantras, one of the best mantras, the Chalisa. But more than the Chalisa, I like the Rudra mantras of Hanuman. There are quite a few of them, and just pick the simple ones, really. Akshat, do you want to add anything? And of course,
Chalisa was written by Maharaj Tulsidas, and it is one of the best remedies, because in that you are worshipping Hanuman as a Ramadut also, as a Vayuputra also, and a Rudra avatar also. So all the three forms, all the major forms of Hanuman are covered for there. And as a Guru also. He is also a Guru. He is a Vedamurti.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is other people who doesn't want to do any mantra, simple for them the Rudra mantra. Hanuman is a Maharudra. He is the Rudra of Rudras actually. And Hanuman Chalisa is one of the best remedies actually. You can, if you want to make it effective, read it 11 times.
Oh, really? Okay, fantastic.
You read it 11 times because there's a certain number of repetitions that you have to do for someone who is imprisonment. And Tulsidas say that he has to do Hanuman Chalisa every day 100 times, because Hanuman is Vayu Rudra. You cannot catch him. Ravan tried to catch him. He put Lanka to the fire. You cannot confine. Nobody can confine Hanuman. He is actually Maharudra.
And remember, he's a Chiranjeevi, so he's forever there. He's
still alive. He is still alive. He is one of the only, because he's a Maharudra. Nobody, because when we die, Rudra comes for us. Okay.
Exactly.
So he's the Maharudra who is going to come and take his soul away. There's nobody there.
Yeah. Okay. And then another tried and tested and one of my favorite remedies, Hom Vishnave Nama. Absolutely guaranteed. There is no mantra more powerful than the Hom Vishnave Nama. You can add bijas there. You can add, if it's the 7th house problems you are having, you can say Hom Shreem Vishnave Nama. Akshat, you want to add more bijas?
Yes, simple. They can do the Vishnu mantra, or they can simply do the Narayan Kavach, because it's a part of the Narayan Kavach.
Yeah.
If you're having a very bad transit, just simply do the Narayan Kavach, because Narayan Kavach is going to take care remedy of the 6th, 8th, and 12th house.
Yeah.
Saturn, Rahu, and Mangal are covered.
So the Narayan Kavach is Hom Vishnave Nama, which is a 6-syllable one. Hom Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, which is a 12-syllable one. And Hom Namo Narayana, which is the 8-syllable one. Simple. Yeah. But make sure that you do the dhyana, download the dhyana from a respectable sources, because the dhyana and the rishi, you can't just hijack their mantras, and you need to kind of, for authenticity and for proper respect, the rishi and the dhyana you need to accept, and the chandas and all that. So you need to do the dhyana just once. So ideally you need to do that. But even if you, let's say it's impossible, you can't find it, I'm sure you can. but
But
just
do the
do the
mantra
mantra.
actually. Because when you're doing it as a sadhana, when you said that, okay, I have to do this mantra sadhana, then the dhyana, the anganyas and the karnyas becomes very, very important.
Yeah.
Because you have to put that mantra in your body and you have to put that mantra to work. So the anganyas and the karnyas becomes vitally important, and the viniyoga.
Yeah.
You should have to know that which devta is that mantra and which form, which chanda, because these are helping you to access the energy of that mantra. So whenever you're doing as a sadhana, when you want to do a sadhana, then when you don't want to do anything, just simply do the mantra, because these are prasiddha mantras actually, to be very honest.
Yeah.
They will work for everybody as a some general remedy actually. And one of the very good results of this Narayan Kavach is that anybody who does it can get rid of serious depression. It makes you happy from inside.
Yeah.
Because the complete energy of Saturn can be transformed. So someone who is suffering from a lot of depression, someone who is not finding, oh, I am not happy, a lot of a lot of bad things are happening in my life, start doing the Narayan Kavach. And the Narayan Kavach is going to be, the ratio is to be 3. The first mantra is Om Vishnu, three malas, 108 into 3 rounds of 108. Then Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, 4 rounds of it, and Om Namo Narayana, 3 rounds. So in that ratio, you have to keep that doing the mantra. So that complete the complete effect is there on you. But remember, whenever you're doing any Vishnu puja, a strict vegetarian diet is prescribed, because Vishnu is all about purity, and Vishnu is the one who sustains everybody. The animal that you're seeing on the road is also sustained by Vishnu. He is same for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, so whenever you're doing any sadhana of Vishnu, please stick to a strict vegetarian diet.
Okay, so let's anyway, I'm going to put the presentation in the Sonwa group. You can just read about what happened during those times when Saturn, see, over the centuries, 1463, and there were monumental times. But what interested me most was there was like wars and all kinds of stuff happened, but the Sikh war, signing of the Treaty of Lahore, and all of that, Kashmir ceded to the British East India Company. So, all this, lot of plundering and looting, of course, because it is those energies of Rahu. But what interested me most was it's this one. The Okaya Group and Co. is founded as Sasaya, a trading company in Nagoya, Japan. It's one of the oldest trading companies. So you see, this is still survived. And so you see Ketu in Libra, it's the marketplace. So somehow something the lineage would have done very, very well for the lineage to continue regarding the trading and all the trade agreements, and it is like aspected the Saturn. So Ketu is aspecting Saturn. Ketu is Rahu's aspecting Saturn, as in Rashi Drishti, as well as Graha Drishti. Saturn is aspecting Rahu in Graha Drishti. So this is a very lethal combination. And Jupiter is in Dushwa Bhava signs. And the Chinese herbal medicine company, Tong Ren Tang, was established in Beijing. So what did I tell you? Saturn in Aquarius, 100% pharmaceutical industry, chemical industry, all kinds of like minerals and, all those like, drinks, and huge progress in Ayurveda medicines, huge progress. And naturopathy, deep breathing, all kinds of stuff will all come out. People will be super, super interested in all of that, 100%. So that is a big thing. Okay, so the other one is, so I'm going to attach all this, but the other one, we also have an eclipse for which we'll do a session, which is really interesting. But there is 3 planets going retrograde in 2022 September, which is sort of really problematic. Jupiter, Saturn is aspecting Jupiter. It's retrograde. So there's going to be, and Mars is aspecting Rashi Drishti. Ketu is aspecting Mangal, lot of warlike situation. Rahu is aspecting Mangal. It's a bit of, and Mangal is slowing down to turn retrograde. So remember, it's it's September to November is kind of going to be really interesting. And another, my favorite remedy of all the remedies, the Shri Rudram is one of my best remedy. And you can figure out, I think Akshat will put up the list, Akshat, of like whatever the degree of your Shani, and you can kind of put that up. Yeah.
I've read this one of the best. Play it on the YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we just play it on the YouTube and just listen to it. Just let it play in the home and let everybody hear it.
Yeah.
Complete cleansing of Saturn. And people who are troubled with Rahu, just simply play Madhura Ashtakam, one of the very good remedies for Rahu.
That's a Krishna.
That's a Krishna.
Madhuram. Yeah.
Aduram Madhuram.
Yeah.
It's a very, very powerful remedy for, because these are very, very powerful hymns actually that create a very powerful mantras are contained in the Sri Rudram. A lot of remedies, a lot of mantras are coming from the Sri Rudram actually.
There's a beautiful, my favorite mantra is Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya, which is a fantastic mantra, which is coming from the Sri Rudram. Yeah. So
everybody can do this mantra if you're having the problem. It's very, very good mantra. Then there's a Rudra Gayatri also. There's so many mantras.
Yeah, the Kadrudraya to say.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. I think any questions so far?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, go on.
Thank you very much. It's a lot of information, actually. You know, it's a bit hard to process them. So a lot. Anyway, thank you. And basically, because now Rahu and Ketu are moving into this two nakshatra. So people who has, for example, Rahu in Bharani and Ketu in I don't remember what Ketu is. Rahu in Bharani.
Vishaka.
In Vishaka would feel the burden, would feel, would be affected basically. Sorry about the noise. Sorry, I mean.
Okay, I do mean who have natal Rahu and Ketu in the same nakshatra, the Rahu Ketu return?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a Rahu Ketu return. Yeah.
Okay.
In the 6 and 12 house. 6 and 12 house.
Okay, so that depends. That depends what planets you have over there. Okay. What planets you have over there, because it will depend on what houses are there.
Oh yeah, Mercury basically with Ketu.
So you have to check that. So suppose someone is having our Rahu and Ketu written in the 6 and the 12 houses, then we have to see if there are no planets. Then you have to check what is happening for the mother, because 6 and 8 houses, 6 and 12 houses are bad for the 4th house. Okay, that is how. Okay. No, you're talking about your chart, but you're telling that you have to see someone else's chart also, right?
Yeah.
You have a malefic Rahu and Ketu access in the 6th and the 12th house, then there's a trouble with the mother already. But for someone who's coming to you, then you have to check, okay, now that is happening, then you have to prescribe them a remedy based on that.
All right.
Whenever we have malefics like Rahu or Ketu in the 6th house, in the 6th and the 12th axis, then we worship Lord Dattatreya for that. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
That is how we do that. Okay. Yeah. So we'll see that if you have a Mercury over there, then we have to say, okay, then you have to make sure that the Mercury is strong over there, because Rahu is actually, Rahu always damages Mercury. Okay. When you will read, even when Rahu is alone, it will always damage Mercury. Mercury has always been damaged by Rahu, because Mercury is the first one who got hit by the scandal of the Rahu when he was born.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are things that you keep learning, because it's very fast. Each and every planet, each and every nakshatra, each and everything will change. But majorly, Rahu Ketu transit is a problem. In which house is going to happen? Saturn transit is always a problem. Jupiter is the remedy. Simple. Okay, because it's the Guru. If Jupiter is transiting upon, suppose if someone's Jupiter is transiting on their Lagna, then they have the time to build over there, to learn about more themselves, because Jupiter is giving them jnana. Okay, when Jupiter is transiting over the Atma Karka, then you might meet someone who can give you a lesson of a lifetime, who can teach you something. Okay, or you can meet someone, or most of the time when the Jupiter is transiting the Atma Karka, people meet their spouse, the lifetime lesson to be taught. Because for that person, you have, I'm telling you, couples who have a very, very deep bonding based on the understanding and knowledge. That is how Jupiter is transiting. Okay, that is how we see. Jupiter is always curing things. Okay, until unless it's when Jupiter is in the Agni Rashi is actually bad. Okay, you don't want Jupiter in it, because that is why, because my guru taught me that Jupiter in Aries is one of the worst Jupiters you can have.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't want Jupiter in Agni Rashi, otherwise Jupiter is fine in all transits. Pisces Jupiter is going to be a good Jupiter, extremely better than the Sagittarius one.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other questions that anybody have?
No. Anyone? Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to put it up. Okay.
I think everybody is looking at their chart and seeing, oh my God, don't get afraid actually. As astrologers, we know that, oh, this dasha is going to be, every third dasha is a bad dasha.
True.
Okay.
But
So don't
you
worry
can
about
do
it.
the work. You can figure out how it's affecting, and how in what Ashtakavarga and points are there, and from the moon Tara, what which moon Tara it is affecting Saturn from your moon sign. But you need the nakshatra. You need to do some work, guys.
Yeah, you need to know that. Okay, and just because just remember that, try to use mean nodes in your software calculation.
Yes.
True nodes are not actually true.
True
Okay.
nodes are based on fallacy, because all mean nodes, Rahu is always about karma from past lifetime. It will always retrograde. It cannot go direct.
It can. In true nodes, the Rahu is also direct. So use mean, because Rahu always has to be, nodes always have to be retrograde. The moment they become direct, it is actually the sun and the moon. Okay. You cannot convert Rahu into sun and moon. Okay. Because sun and moon are always direct and the nodes are always retrograde. That is how the creation, sustenance, and destruction is happening.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. And put some comments, figure out what's happening in your chart. Okay. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Already, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye. Bye.